Back in 2019, I was going through infertility for the first time. I'd had a miscarriage. I was just starting to do IUI, and I was catching up with a friend from high school, and he asked how things were going. And I unfortunately unloaded on him, oh, we've been trying to get pregnant. It's so hard. Nothing's working. We had this miscarriage, and just really like gave him my sob story. And at the end of it, he said, okay, well, aside from that, how are things going? And I just remember feeling like completely flabbergasted and being like, that is my entire life. It consumes my every waking moment. I didn't say that to him, but I was thinking like, how can you ask me how things are going? Like that is everything. I am totally consumed by infertility. If this sounds like you, if you feel like infertility has completely consumed your life, I have a whole lot of tricks I have learned along the way, a whole lot of life hacks, if you will, on finding your joy again and finding happiness while you're going through infertility, while you're going through recurrent pregnancy loss, because it is possible to be happy and enjoy your life, even though this is a really tough journey. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jess. I am a certified nurse midwife, and I'm an experienced infertility mom. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter who I conceived after 3 rounds of IUI. And now, after 5 rounds of IUI, we are starting an IVF journey. I have had 2 miscarriages and an ectopic pregnancy along the way, and all of this while working full time as a nurse midwife. So, pregnancy and birth are constantly in my face all the time, 40 to 60 hours a week. So, there is no avoiding it. But I think because of that, I've gotten really good at dealing with stress and dealing with grief and dealing with just the sadness that comes with it along the way. Um, I've had 3 pregnancy losses now, and you would think it would get harder each time. And honestly, I feel like I've coped better and better each time, and have remained more hopeful each time. My first tip for keeping your spirits up is maybe not choosing to share your infertility or your pregnancy losses with everyone in your life. Um, and it might be too late, and if that's okay, that's okay. You're still going to be able to find happiness. I feel like everyone knows what's going on in my uterus at all times now, because everyone knows we're doing IVF, everyone knows we've had pregnancy losses. The first time we were going through infertility treatments, we did not tell my husband's dad and stepmom, even though we are pretty close with them. We see them on a regular basis. It was really nice to be able to go out to dinner with them, or just like have a day with them. And, they didn't know what was going on, so they didn't ask about it. And they would ask about other things in our lives. And I always found that after our visits with them, I felt very refreshed because we had focused on everything but the infertility. And it was just a good reminder that, yeah, there's good stuff going on in our lives too. Talking about work and our house and those sorts of things. And so you might want to, have people in your life that's not, your focus each time you guys talk. I will say though, with miscarriage, I feel like it's a little bit different. The first time we had a miscarriage, we didn't really tell anyone what was going on. And some people said some really stupid stuff to me that I think could have been avoided if they had known where we were at. People would make comments about like, oh, are you sure you want kids? If there was like a screaming kid at, a restaurant or something like that. And it's like, yeah, actually really desperately we want kids, and it would be nice if you were sensitive to that. And so the second time we had a miscarriage, actually everyone in our lives knew. I had my mom tell my aunts, and everyone in the family knew immediately, because I have a big family that likes to talk, and that's okay. I love my family. But it was really helpful to have people know and be tender around that subject. And actually within like an hour of me telling my mom, I remember someone showed up at our house delivering cookies. Like one of my cousins had sent a cookie service to our house, which was like so amazing and nice, when we were going through a miscarriage. So that ended up being positive. My second tip for dealing with the grief, sadness, despair is affirmations. This one was kind of hokey to me at first, and it took a lot of getting used to. I definitely had the internal monologue for a really long time of, oh, I'm so ugly, I'm so fat, I'm so worthless. And it felt really natural when we were going through infertility and pregnancy loss to get into negative self-talk of like, oh, my body is so broken. I failed my child. I failed my husband. And, none of those things are true. That is not a story that I need to tell myself. And it's not a story that you need to tell yourself. It's not helpful in any way. And so if you're someone who tends to lean towards negative self-talk, I think affirmations can be really valuable. And it's just simple phrases, simple things you can tell yourself throughout the day, like my body is healthy. My womb is the perfect vessel for my baby, things like that. And if it feels silly at first, that's okay. You can practice it and get better at it. I think a really great place to start is Pinterest. If you go to Pinterest and type in fertility affirmations or infertility affirmations, you are going to get just page after page after page of beautiful art made by probably other women who've gone through infertility, with really encouraging phrases. And I actually made myself a whole Pinterest board of infertility affirmations for rough days, and I found that that's really helpful. I also have an app on my phone that gives me a positive affirmation every day. And again, it felt cheesy at first, but now it has really helped shaped that inner monologue and shifted it from a negative one to a positive one, which has greatly impacted my mood. If you are someone who finds yourself doom scrolling on Facebook and that puts you in a terrible mood, I think that's a great time to do affirmations. And that's why I like having the Pinterest board. My third tip is not to get hung up on every little infertility tip that you find. There is a deep rabbit hole on the internet, whether you're on YouTube or reading blogs of all of these, this is the one thing that helped me get pregnant after 5 years. One page that I found myself at a lot at one point during our journey was the To Make a Mommy blog. And she has this list. I forget if it's like 68 things or 74 things. It's an overwhelming amount of things she did to help get pregnant, when physicians had told her that IVF was her only hope. And she did successfully get pregnant twice. So I think she's got some useful information. But that's a lot of stuff to do. And it's really easy to get overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, I got to do this. I got to do this. Especially, I always recommend the book It Starts with the Egg, where a woman who is getting ready for IVF talks about all of the research of things she found you could do to promote egg quality. And so definitely at the beginning of our infertility journey, we got rid of all of our nonstick cookware. We got rid of all the plastic in our kitchen and switched to like stainless steel mixing bowls and silicone spatulas. I got rid of all my nail polish and swapped it out for formaldehyde free, clean beauty products. Changed my husband's shaving cream, deodorants, shampoos, everything. And once we made those switches, and it was just, we didn't have to keep thinking about it over and over again, those things were pretty doable. I found things that I like constantly had to be doing, though, were just stressing me out. And an example I'll give is, we all know the pineapple trick. If you cut up a pineapple and eat a into 5 pieces and eat a piece every day, core and all, after for 5 days after ovulation, the bromelain in the pineapple is supposed to help decrease inflammation in your body and help improve the odds of implantation. And when I first started doing that trick, I thought it was super fun. I love pineapple, it was no big deal. And it just got too complicated and too stressful after a while. Like I, had read like, okay, you don't want to eat anything cold when you're in the second half of your cycle because you need a warm uterus to conceive. And I'd been keeping it in the fridge. So I had to take like my thyroid medication in the morning, and then I couldn't eat for 30 minutes. And so I'd get my pineapple out to warm up and then eat it. And then, in theory, you're supposed to eat it on an empty stomach and then wait 60 minutes before you can eat anything else. And there would be mornings when it's like, oh, shoot, I forgot to get my pineapple out. Now it's cold and I don't want to eat it cold. Or I would be at the end of my day and be like, I forgot to eat my pineapple. Or because my ovulation was so unpredictable, I would buy a pineapple and then not ovulate and not ovulate and not ovulate. And so then finally, when I did, I went to cut open the pineapple and it was totally spoiled and it was just like upsetting and stressful. And I finally decided, you know what? I'm going to let the pineapple thing go. I know from talking to lots of women who are abundantly fertile, they're not all doing the pineapple trick. Like that is probably not the one thing that's going to get me pregnant. And if it's not fun, if it's just increasing your anxiety, like there's enough anxiety on this journey. Just let that go. You do not have to do every single little infertility trick that you come across on the internet. My fourth tip is to be attentive to when you do feel good in your body. If you have a good exercise routine and you have like a really satisfying workout, be attentive to that. If you are out with friends and you find yourself laughing and having a good time, just take a moment and appreciate that. And I do think it's helpful to make a list. I'm a big fan of making lists. If you're having a hard time just finding moments throughout your day where you feel good, just make a list of things that make you happy, things that you like doing. I made one the first time we were going through infertility, and I wish I had it now so I could read it to you, but it was really simple stuff. It was like weeding the garden for half an hour. Like I love getting out in my garden and pulling weeds. That was something that would bring me joy. Going for a hike in the woods with my husband, going to the beach for the afternoon, and then also just being attentive of times throughout my journey where I had hope. So, like this time around, we switched reproductive endocrinologists, and I really like our new doctor. After our first meeting with him, I just remember talking to my husband and being like, "I got great vibes off this guy. I think he is the doctor for us." There are times along the way where you get good news. Like part of our issue is sometimes my husband has a really low sperm count, but we've had cycles where he had a better than average sperm count. And it's like, yeah, let's celebrate that. That's wonderful. That's really exciting. Um, and I find if you can be attentive to those times, you can start to shift your narrative and the story you tell about your journey from a negative one to a positive one. It doesn't have to all be about grief and jealousy and sadness, and it can start to be about excitement and hope again. I had a mentor in my life who passed away recently. And once, when I was having a really hard time, and this was before I had even met my husband, um, I remember her telling me that the pain in this life is unavoidable, but the suffering is optional. And on more than one occasion, she would also tell me, you're going to get tired of telling that story eventually. And it's true. Our life is a story that we tell ourselves when we reflect on things that have happened in the past. And, I can make it this really depressing story of, oh, yeah, I'm infertile and we have such a hard time getting pregnant, and I've lost multiple pregnancies, and I have to do this all while providing prenatal care and listening to pregnant women complain all the time. And I can make it this really like sob story and just wallow in the sadness. That type of story just doesn't serve me. It does not help my mood. Nobody wants to hear it. And I'm the narrator. I can choose to tell a story that's positive. I can choose to tell the story of like, yeah, we're so excited. We're moving on to IVF. We really love our doctor. I'm so grateful that I get to, go through this journey in a time when we have all these resources available to us and we can't afford to pursue IVF. And progesterone supplements exist, and we have this wonderful acupuncturist. Like, there are a lot of really positive things on the journey. And yeah, you're in control of that story. You're in control of the narrative. And I think if you find that you're telling a story of excitement and of hope, that is going to help you find your joy every day. It has been really difficult being a midwife on this journey at times when I let it be difficult. There were times when patients would say things to me that I would just let it ruin my whole day if they were surprise pregnant and had a negative attitude about it, or if they found out the sex of their baby was not the sex that they wanted and they were upset about it. I would get this like, how dare you be upset about that in front of me sort of feeling. And now, I just appreciate that they're in a different place than I am. And what I focus on instead are my patients who are also struggling with infertility, and then getting pregnant. And my patients who are so excited to be pregnant, and they, waited until they were in their late 30s to become pregnant. And they're just so glad they're finally here. And I actually have two patients right now who I've, done infertility workups on and made recommendations. And now they're both recently pregnant. And I got to see them each last week for their first visit for their pregnancy. And that just brought me so much joy, and gives me so much hope. It's such a privilege to get to care for women who are going through a similar struggle that you're going through. And I would say that is the biggest silver lining of this whole experience. Is it has definitely made me a better midwife. It has made me a better healthcare provider. And I'm so grateful to get to care for women this way. And I'm so grateful now to get to share my story with other women. Um, and I am happy. I was so depressed the first time we went through infertility and after my first miscarriage, and I was in an awful place. And I surprise myself now day to day with how well we're doing with the stress of everything and the ectopic pregnancy we had a few months ago. There's still joy in my life. My life is still wonderful. Um, and I bet your life is wonderful too. And you deserve to be happy. You deserve to feel joy. You are worthy of happiness just because you're human. So if you found this helpful, you know, thumbs up, subscribe. I'm really excited. I'm going to start doing a series on different causes of infertility, symptoms, and then solutions for those causes of infertility. And I'm just dying to give you an IVF update, and I still don't have one right now. I called our nurse last week at the end of last week, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I still don't have a date. There are a lot of women ahead of you." And instead of getting like really frustrated and angry of like, oh, this is taking longer than I anticipated, instead I'm just focusing on they're helping a lot of women become mamas right now, and I'm really excited for them, and it's going to be my turn really soon. I'm really excited for that. So thanks for listening. See you next time.